So my journey began with my family's journey. And I grew up in a big Irish Catholic family. I'm one of dozens of cousins, and my mom, pretty traditional household. Mom stayed home with kids, dad worked. My dad did not have a college degree. He was incredibly smart, and he started college a couple times, but between having to pay bills and take care of us, he couldn't do it, and so he dropped out. And he was working as running his own outdoor power equipment store. And when the Mississippi River floods of the early 90s hit, my parents lost everything. It flooded his business, it flooded their home. They learned that they did not have flood insurance, that was not automatically included in what they had. And so they filed for bankruptcy and decided that, hey, everyone is going to need outdoor power equipment gear. So we're going to put all of our resources that we have, all of our savings, all of our assets, not into trying to fix our home, but into reopening this business. And so they did that. And then the floods came back like 2 or 3 days later unexpectedly and wiped everything out again. And so at that point, my parents had lost everything and they had to become really transient for my dad to go find work. And without a college degree, this incredibly brilliant person who was running his own store, was operating as a manager, was suddenly having to report to people who had way less experience, way less success or history in the space, because he didn't have that piece of paper for things that had nothing to do with his ability. And so for me, that's where this idea of apprenticeship degrees came from. Is, let's not say that degrees don't mean anything. They should signal a certain level of knowledge, but how can we make sure that that knowledge is made accessible and learnable for people who don't have the luxury of spending tens of thousands of dollars and years of their life out of their workforce studying the theory of something before they actually earn and provide for their family? Yes. So building on my dad's story. So my dad went through this whole experience where because he didn't have that piece of paper, he was constantly reporting to people who had less experience and knowledge than him because they did have the piece of paper. And then I had this full circle moment where, unfortunately, I was on the other side of the table when I became a first-year teacher. I was a non-traditional entrant to the classroom, so I studied a non-teaching degree in college, then went and got my PhD in education, and then went back into the classroom. So I had gone all the way to the end of the road in educational training and had my PhD in education when I entered the classroom. And I did not know what I was doing. I had no clue. And I think the nicest way you could put it is that I was a hot mess. But there were all of these people working in the building that were aides, paraprofessionals, who were coming in and basically salvaging my class for me on a daily or weekly basis, right? Coming in and showing me, here's how you engage with this student. Oh, that student, you're going to need to call their mom. Here's her phone number. Oh, if you're going to try to run a class this way, here's what you need to do. And so all of these people who'd been in that building for 10 plus years, who knew what to do from their work on the job as aides or paraprofessionals, were coming in and getting paid a third what I was getting paid, which was still not much as a teacher, because I had that piece of paper. And so my own personal journey was one where I first saw what that meant for my family because of my dad's position, and then felt myself living on the other side of it. And then conversely, I became a school principal and felt the pain of, hey, there's all of these amazing people I want to hire. I know they'd be great teachers, but I cannot legally hire them to be a teacher until they have a bachelor's degree and teaching credential. And so that is what started for me this idea of, what if we created this apprenticeship degree concept and started in the industry that I was working in, where we had desperate need for people with those degrees and with that training, but didn't necessarily want to exclude all of the people who were working in the building every day and could do that job if they were just given a chance to learn that in a way that aligned with their needs as a working adult. What inspires me most now is the way in which school leaders are tapping into their local talent and solving this problem as a win-win for both their community and the people they're training. So watching school leaders, some of our schools that we support are so remote that you can only access them by boat, for example. Like there's no bridge, there's no other way to get in there. You have to take a boat to get there. It is very unlikely that that rural district that does not have a massive economic base, it cannot pay people super well, is going to be able to draw people in. And so they have struggled with massive teacher shortages for years. And to hear them say that, meanwhile, there are these adults living on the island where the ability to work in the school is one of the most stable, high-paying jobs in that area. And this idea that they can offer that person a pathway to get paid to earn a college degree, never take on any student loan debt, and in fact, get paid to come into work every day and have that culminate in a college degree that will then turn into a stable job with benefits as a classroom teacher, has been this win-win that is good for the school and its students because it is ending teacher shortages. It's also great for those adults because it's providing them a way in without asking them to do unrealistic things like leave their community also by boat to go get a degree that they have to pay tens of thousands of dollars for and will never be able to pay off working as a teacher in their lifetime. And so seeing that gives me a ton of hope. I will also say I am excited and heartened to watch that in these same communities where we started with teachers, we're starting to hear local healthcare providers say, well, couldn't we do the same thing with our nurses, right? We have a nursing shortage and we have a bunch of people that are from here working as certified nursing assistants or medical assistants. Could we upskill them through that same pathway to become nurses? Or, the same thing in clean technology or advanced manufacturing? And the answer categorically is yes. There is no reason what we have learned in teaching can't work anywhere else. And so what we are excited for is this idea that apprenticeship degrees can solve rural teacher shortages, but that they can also become a catalyst to end skilled labor shortages across the country, while at the same time making access to those skilled degrees more equitable and economically advancing for people who can't afford the traditional college pathway. What I think is important to know is that it is not just Reach University that is talking now about apprenticeship degrees. Reach is actually a part of a cohort of around 15 universities right now, all of whom are offering apprenticeship teaching degrees. And we're starting to see the launch of a similar cohort of universities offering similar pathways in nursing. And we know there's more to come, but the reason that I mentioned that, where it's already started and where it already is right now, is that this is actually the beginning of a movement. And our goal and our hope is that by 2035, every single state has access to at least one institution that is providing these apprenticeship degree pathways in teaching and nursing, so that every single community, every single hospital, every single school in America has the ability to end their skilled labor shortages by upskilling people in their community without asking them to go into student loan debt or leave the workforce. And the opportunity of that, in 10 to 12 years, we could be looking back and saying, can you imagine a time when our classrooms didn't have teachers in them, or a hospital would just not have enough nurses? Isn't that crazy? The fact that we're seeing enough inertia that really could become a thing of the past is incredibly exciting. And I think it's important for people to know because it's going to take all of us. So anyone who's listening, if you are an employer in teaching or in healthcare, if you are an institution of higher education, if you're a policymaker, if you're in any of those categories and have an interest in seeing this work come to where you are, we want to hear from you because there's a whole coalition of us out there excited to roll up our sleeves and get to work.